Hello, good afternoon and welcome to my channel, Paul Cherry Trains. I hope I'm looking festive for you in my Santa hat. And also we've got the tree in the background, which is quite nice. I thought I'd give a recap on the past year as it's gone by. Now, it's been quite an eventful year for me, one thing or another. But it's been quite an eventful year for buying trains. I was quite... I bought quite a lot of trains the first part of the year, but things tailed off in the second half of the year, which have become quite apparent. But we'll get down to it and we'll just say, first of all, amongst all the locomotives, I bought most of them on eBay, second hand. Some of them were brand new. I mean, one I bought directly from Rails of Sheffield. Two I bought from Amazon. Yeah, I bought directly off of Amazon. I'll go into why I bought them from Amazon in a moment when we get to them. Now we'll kick off with eBay purchases. Now on the 3rd of January I bought a Bachmann 4F. Okay, perfectly good runner. That was as described. Ran around the track. That's an 040 locomotive, Midland in black. Okay, I think it came in BR livery. Superb locomotive. Can't really fault it. Real success. The next locomotive was an older model, and that's a tender-driven locomotive. So the motor is in the tender, there's a Ringfield motor in there, and that was a 280 GWR freight locomotive in green. Again, beautiful locomotive. So I bought that on the 8th of January, and that was an absolute success. Some of these models I think have been left, you know, for a little bit, and were a little bit arthritic to start with, but they ran perfectly well with a bit of oil and a bit of running in. They've most of my locomotives, like I say, have been perfect. That one came with a bonus of a firebox glow, so the big kid in me, that really appealed. Firebox glow. Okay, it's not got as much detail as the newer version of this from Hornby, but the firebox glow was a selling point for me. Beautiful locomotive, love it. The next one, this is a tale really interesting, because this happens when you get a locomotive that's highly recommended by big YouTubers, which I won't name because it's not their fault they sold out. I mean, they recommended them, everybody bought them. But this was a Hornby Hall class. Now I bought this on the 17th of January, Adderley Hall, and very, very difficult, like I say, to get. Once I got this, it was not going back in any way, shape or form, and it did have issues. Okay, one was that it was full of carpet hair and pet hair. Another thing was that it had a part of the cylinder gear, and it was like a plastic piece that went into the cylinder block, okay, holding the valve gear, and it just needed pushing back in really. It came loose, just a drop of glue, push it back in, perfect running, bit of oil, whizzing around the track beautifully, lovely locomotive, delighted with it now. Okay, but I think it goes to show that, I mean, I won't send a locomotive back if it's got a problem I can fix, and we'll be getting a bit deeper into that subject later, okay, really deep. Okay, anyway, right, now the next one I bought on the 23rd of January, so you can see I've been buying quite a lot in January. I bought the Hornby Railroad NMS Compound 1000. Again, minor issues. It came described in good condition, like the person that said it would be, but it had a bit of a problem. I put it on the track, turned up the controller, and the wheels were spinning furiously round and the locomotive was going nowhere. Okay, in fact, I think it was all right until I put a few carriages on the back, and it wouldn't pull the carriages, and the wheels were spinning round. And it turned out that the traction tyres had gone on it. Something which you wouldn't notice. I mean, if you're running it on its own on a layout, you wouldn't notice it testing it. Bought the new traction tyres, and getting those traction tyres, I got to thank Barry Davis for that. Now he recommends buying the Marklin 7152 tyres. But remember that, I think it's Marklin 7152. You can pick them up on eBay reasonably well, and those traction tyres solved my problem. Okay, got this fitted. That locomotive whizzing around the track now. Lovely locomotive. It's in Crimson Lake. Like I say, it's a railroad model. There's a far more detailed Bachmann model out on that, but that's a lot more expensive. Okay, so anyway, delighted with that one. Now we've moved to February now, and on the 4th of February I bought it was called it was Patriot, that was it, Hornby Patriots in green. Again, a railroad model. And you know, you have probably seen me say before in previous videos, I think railroad models represent fantastic value for money. You can't go wrong with Hornby Railroad, and that was the case with this particular one. Now, it was perfect out of the box, ran perfect out of the box, cannot fault it. Now, some of these models like Adderley Hall, the Patriot, they are almost a full fat model. They're only missing a few minor things, like they haven't got fully decorated cabs normally. Sometimes we don't get sprung buffers, moulded on smokebox darts. Sort of fantastic looking locomotive, and I would highly recommend it. So that's Hornby Railroad Patriot. I bought mine in green. I think the name of it was EC Trench, okay, EC Trench. Lovely. Now on the 17th of February, to go in my NMS Compound 1000, I bought another compound, but this was in black, and it's got the Fowler tender on the back. So it's got like kind of a guardrail going round, like kind of a fence on top of the tender. Again, a lovely locomotive, ran fine out the box. Being railroad, again, slightly less detail, but with me, with it running around the layout, like I like to run my models, who cares? Perfect, lovely model. On the 26th of February, I bought a locomotive here, which needed just a minor bit of fixing. It wasn't a lot. Now, I'll explain to you what went wrong with this one, but why I'm still delighted with it. I paid about £30 for this Airfix Royal Scots, okay. It ran perfectly well, but it was quite noisy, okay. It was quite noisy going around the track. So I thought I'd investigate. Now, when I took it all apart, and I sort of took it all apart and looked at the motor, oiled everything up, I noticed a piece of wood wedged in the tender, and I took it out. And when I took the piece of wood out, it wouldn't go. I thought, here we go. But it's all it was. Rather than tighten up the screws on the motor, the person had wedged a piece of wood into it to wedge the tender side, the motor side, into the chassis. Done up a few screws and it runs perfect. Still a bit more noisy than the more modern models, but what a lovely model. And if you can find Airfix Royal Scots, again, and you've got a spare £30 and it's that price, lovely model, I'd highly recommend it. As long as you don't mind it being a bit noisier going around the track than more modern offerings. Again, it's a tender powered locomotive. Go around the track, I don't care, beautiful. Now on the 9th of March, moving into March, this is another great success. I bought Hornby, it was a Spam can, West Country class, and that was Hornby Blackmore Val in green, okay? A Bullet Pacific, Southern Railway Bullet Pacific. What a beautiful locomotive. Again, ran perfectly well out of the box, so all I had to do was give it a bit of an oiling to make sure, quick service, and away we go. I'm going to get that one out again actually, because we've not seen that one for some time, so that's going to form part of one of my running sessions. In fact, all of these locomotives are going to be seen again at some points in future videos. Okay, Hornby Blackmore Val. On the 15th of March, I bought a Lima Deltic. I think I paid about £50 for it, described in perfect condition, and it came in perfect condition, apart from one thing. Put on the track, yes, it ran up and down okay until I attached carriages, and again, wheels whizzing round, not going anywhere. And that turned out to be the traction tyres again. But I had spare traction tyres in my little box of goodies. Fitted new traction tyres, which didn't take too long. Can be a bit fiddly putting traction tyres on, but once you're used to it, no problem at all. And it runs perfect. Bit of an oil, bit of a service, and away we go. Lima Deltic. That's a diesel locomotive, MELD, M-E-L-D in green. Beautiful locomotive, right, highly recommended. And what I would say about Lima locomotives, okay, they haven't been made for some considerable time, not by the old Lima factory, and they're a little bit noisier, maybe not quite so much detail, but they do form part of the Hornby Railroad range, some of these Limas. They've never let me down, okay? That's my personal experience, they've never let me down. Right, so we'll move on to the next model now. On the 20th of March, I bought Hornby Schools Class in Eastbourne. Now, the reason I went for this one was that it was, I couldn't get hold of the railroad version Schools Class. Again, all the railroad versions, they disappear I bet the day that I go and buy something else, 10 to turn up. It's the same as buses. You wait for ages 3 come along. But anyway, I bought this one again. It was a tender powered one, but it's more detailed than the railroad version. As long as you don't mind the ring-fed motor in the tender and a slightly higher colo, which I think you get anyway on railroad models. Perfectly fine, beautifully detailed locomotive, run out of the box perfectly well. And that's one, again, can be one that will be featuring back on my layout again at some date. Beautiful. Now we're moving on to another locomotive now. On the 20th of March, I bought the Hornby Port of Bristol Authority Sentinel 060 diesel shunter. Again, a beautiful locomotive. Okay, ran perfectly well out of the box. I think it was, I bought it new, that one, but from eBay. Beautiful little locomotive. The reason I come from Bristol, Port of Bristol Authority, Kerching, it was a sale, wasn't it? I bought it straight away. Okay, lovely little model. They've got this actual Sentinel locomotive at the moment is on the East Somerset Railway. And I went out to have a look at the rail one, and apart from the fact that the rail one's a bit rusty and it's got different, slightly different paintwork on it now, yes, it is a good faithful model. Beautiful model, highly recommended. Now I bought something a bit different on the 31st of March, I think. I bought a Sentinel lorry, okay, as a static thing to go on my layout. Sentinel steam lorry, cost about a tenner. Beautiful, can't go wrong. You'll see that soon on my layout. Moving into April, I bought another Hornby model, and again it's a tender powered one because I couldn't get the Hornby Railroad Hunts class. Okay, so this could be a bit of a reoccurring theme here. So I bought the tender powered version. Okay, Hornby Caterstock Hunt. Okay, again ran perfectly well out of the box. Beautiful, went around the track, gave it a bit of a service, no problem with it at all. And as long as, like I say, as long as you don't mind the locomotive being tender powered, motors in the tender, go for it. Mine's got a bit of a slight wobble going on the track, and I suspect the wheel set needs replacing, but it's not bad enough for me to want to replace it. So that's part of the character for me. It's going to be run as is, unless I see a cheap wheel set come up. But another, again, a beautiful locomotive, highly recommended. Hornby Caterstock Hunt class. Now on the 4th of April, I saw another locomotive I wanted, and that was an 040 Sentinel shunter, and that was Catwater. And you'll see that in one of my latest videos now. That was my Christmas video with Santa. He's pulling Santa's train. That was a Catwater in red. And this was a gentleman who bought his locomotive, and then for some reason went straight to Engage and put it away and forgot about it. And I bought this brand new in the box, okay, basically. I think he ran it up and down and put it away in the box. Lovely locomotive. Again, I can highly recommend these little Sentinel shunters. If you're into your diesel Sentinel shunters, Catwater's a lovely locomotive in red. I'd say go for it. Now we move into May, and I bought another tender powered locomotive, and it was NMS, Hornby NMS 4F. Again, a bonus feature of this locomotive is, I'm sorry, is an 8F, not a 4F, it's an 8F. 280 8F. It's got the firebox glow. Beautiful little locomotive. Again, I'm going to put that one back on the track again. You might see that one running in the near future, okay? Again, one of those that ran perfectly well out of the box. Now, the majority of the locomotives I bought on eBay, I've not had to do anything to. A bit of a light oiling, a bit of a running in, and away they go again, like good as new, beautiful. And again, one that I can recommend, and that's a tender powered one, and I did a review of that as well on my channel. I bought that on the 24th of May. On the 17th of June, I bought another Hornby Railroad model, and that's a Hornby Evening Star 210 BR locomotive, and again perfectly well out of the box. A little bit of an oiling, round the track it's going perfectly well. Didn't have to do a thing to it, didn't have to lift a finger. Beautiful, highly recommended. And again, all the Hornby Railroad models, as long as you don't mind there being slightly less detail, moulded on things like mould on smoke box darts. Sometimes you don't get sprung buffers, sometimes you don't get a fully decorated cab. A few more moulded details on, but then they're more durable, aren't they, the Railroad range. I say just go ahead and buy it. There is a newer 210 out there. The Hornby have come out with, and it's a beautiful locomotive, but you're talking about spending over 200 quid on that. I went for the railroad version, I'm happy. Now the next locomotive, again, I do have the railroad version of this. It's a 440 GWI county locomotive, a 440, okay, but I wanted County of Cornwall, okay. And this was another tender powered locomotive, and again came perfectly well out of the box with a bit of a light oiling. The detail on it's superb, beautiful, okay. Highly recommend that one if you don't mind tender powered, and it's a good alternative to the railroad version. The railroad version though, again, beautiful. I got the railroad version County Devon. I bought that last year I think, and that's a locomotive again I can highly recommend. So these 440 counties, either the tender powered one from Hornby or the loco powered one, the railroad, highly recommend. Now we'll move on to my most troublesome locomotive. Oh dear, oh dear. I should have sent it back, okay? It should have gone back. And I ran it, I put it on the track, and yeah, it was running fine. And I was starting to shoot a video on it. So I'm going to tell you how happy I was with it. And it went bang, clonk, 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 and drew to a rather abrupt halt. Oh no, here we go. And when was, one of the crank pins had come undone on one of the back wheels. And of course now you've got one of the connection rods flailing around, coupling rods. And it just absolutely, the valve gear all fell a bit, so I need all putting back together again. Well, I managed to get that done. I managed to find the crank pin, reassembled it all, tried it again. More trouble with the valve gear. Now what happened on both sides was the actual slide bars for the cross brace or whatever it is, the cross head, they both come out of the cylinder blocks. Glued them back in again. Went to run the locomotive. Whizzes, motor's running, nothing's happening. Oh no, here we go again, more trouble. And that entailed, it was the cog now that was on the axle had cracked. So now there's no drive to the axle. Bought a new wheel set, quite cheap. Replaced the wheel set, is running fine now. Until I noticed a piece missing from the tender. So I bought another tender top. That was put on, and eventually I've got a King Arthur class I can use. Like I say, I could have sent it back. Buying one of these, I like fixing things. I can't help it. And one of these, I just sort of get itching to get out with my screwdrivers. And now it's a fine locomotive, and I can say that if you can find one in good condition, very nice model, and that was a Hornby 460 King Arthur class. Okay. Moving on, another locomotive that was hard to find. Hornby Railroad. Now this is not the 440, this is a 460 County of Cornwall. And again, difficult to find. Highly recommended by reviewers, okay? By very big viewers, big time viewers. And of course, when they recommend it like that, everybody buys them. And I couldn't get one for love or money anywhere. One turned up at the right price on eBay. I went for it. Beautiful, runs out of the box, beautiful. The Hawkesworth County 460 Hornby Railroad County of Cornwall. If you see one, right price, described as a runner, and it looks right in the pictures, and you want one, don't hesitate, because they don't come up very often, okay? Right, so moving on. Now, I will say that the second half of my year, I've not been buying less locomotives. Of course, I had a big flurry in the first half of the year, and that's when my channel was building up greatly as well, okay? But it wasn't until September then I bought another locomotive, and that was a Hornby Black 5, okay? And that was a Hornby Railroad Black 5, and I bought that from Rocket Railways, okay? If you have a chance of looking in on their channel, worth looking in on that. They got a nice little channel going. They got a model shop up in Colville. Bit of a long way for me to go actually. I bought this off eBay from them. Very nice, and again, it ran perfectly well. Just need a bit of an oiling when I bought that. No trouble there at all. I did a review of that, and that's flying around the track when I get it out. No problem, no issues with that whatsoever. Okay, so that was the Hornby Black 5 Railroad version. And again, I think that was again another one that was highly recommended by certain reviewers. Again, you're getting less detail, okay, and it's based on the older Hornby tooling, but we see one at the right price, just get it. Another one that I can recommend. This is Hornby Mallard, but again I went for the tender version one, tender driven one. It's got better detail in my opinion, and it's also got cap glazing. The railroad version of the Mallard hasn't got cap glazing. That was a bit of a no-no for me, okay? And also, it's got a weird mix match between the Loco and the tender. The Loco's got sprung buffers, but the tender hasn't, okay? And I'm sure it's a lovely model, and I'm sure that those of you out there, if you bear that in mind, are going to be delighted with it, or are delighted with it. So don't get too upset by what I just said about it. But that's why I decided to go for one of the older tender powered ones. And again, that ran perfectly well out of the box, and it's perfectly fine. The old tender powered version of the Mallard. Next, another troublesome locomotive. Should have gone back, okay? But I can't help it. I just like mending things. And there was a Hornby Tornado. Again, Hornby Railroad. Highly recommended. Do they turn that very often? I don't know. I just went for the one I saw. And there's two versions, one with cap glazing and one without. Now I found one with cap glazing, and again it's a lesson learned. Oh dear, oh dear, I should have learnt my lesson. Look at the photos, okay, and I didn't look at them carefully enough. It showed the good side where there was cap glazing. It didn't show the bad side where there wasn't any cap glazing, okay. I've managed to do a fix on it so it looks acceptable by using a product called gluing glaze. So there is a window in there now. But another problem it was actually wiggling. It had a wobble down the track, which was a little bit unbearable. I cured that by buying a new wheel set, okay. Cheap as chips. I think I bought that from Hornby. I think something like that. About a tenner for a wheel set. If you're good at taking locomotives apart and putting them back together again, I replaced the wheel set. That's running as sweet as a nut now, perfectly fine. Again, I cannot help it when I see a locomotive like that and I buy it. Should have gone back, I fixed it, okay? Right. Now I bought some, now running on to non-eBay purchases, I bought a couple of locomotives from Amazon, and to be fair to Amazon, they come next day delivery. Now if you've got Amazon Prime, okay, and you get a free delivery, why not go for it? And that's what I did. And on both occasions I got next day delivery, and really Amazon are usually quite good with their deliveries. They give you a nice time frame you can usually get waiting for, and you know it's going to come in that time frame usually. And now the first one I bought was a Hornby T9. T9 Southern Railway 440, okay. Great T9 Greyhound, I think they're called. And this came in pre-grouping. Gosh, what was it called? It was in a green. It's a very, very vivid green. It might come to me in a minute what it's called. But it's a sage green. Sage green, that was it. Some of you might think that, and I thought first of all, God crikey, I think Sam's Trains reviewed it, okay, and he spoke highly of it. But I thought the livery, you need sunglasses. Now it did turn out when it was Mike's Models actually, I think, went to visit a railway to have a look at an Adams radial tank, and that's in the same livery, okay, this Adams radial tank, at least it was at the time of filming. And I was convinced about the livery. I bought it, no doubts about the livery now. I love it, okay, absolutely love it. It came in perfect condition from Amazon, no bits dropped off, ran straight out of the box. I've had no issues with it whatsoever. Highly recommend the Hornby T9, and I think it's a National Railway Museum one. It's where you've got the red stripes on the back of the box. Just go for it, okay? Beautiful. If you're into Southern, get it. Another one I bought was the Hornby Lodestar. Okay, that was again a full fat version Lodestar, Hornby 460 Star Class. Okay, that arrived perfect from Amazon again, next day delivery Prime. Perfect condition. I've just reviewed that, so look in on my channel and see the review on that. Again, I can highly recommend that because it came in great condition, okay, and it's a beautiful runner straight out of the box. Didn't have to touch it. Well, you don't expect to do with a brand new locomotive. And sorry, I just scratched the back of my head then. There we are. Now, another locomotive I can highly recommend, I bought brand new, and I bought that directly from Rails of Sheffield, was the Dapol 460 Manor class, okay? I bought Hinton Manor in the plain black livery with the early crest on it, and what a beautiful locomotive that is. You'll see that review not only on my channel, but I think there's various people have reviewed this. People like Jennifer Kirk, Sam's Trains, all the top reviewers have reviewed it. I think anybody's had a major bad word to say about it. I think a few, no, not heard a bad word said about it. It's perfect. If you can get one, I mean, I don't know how Dapol can do it, because they're offering their Manor class. I bought mine for £140 from Rails of Sheffield. The RRP was only about 150. I think Dapol can do a locomotive of this quality for this price. I just do not know. Sum it up, if you want one, you can be lucky enough to afford the money to get it, like me. Just go ahead and buy it, okay? That's perfect, okay? Now, I think that sums up my buying experience of this year. Now, what I would say is that my buying activity has tailed off quite dramatically, because I bought all my locomotives early in the year. Okay, and I think I've run out of ones to buy now. I've dried up a bit. I will be buying other models to come. I will be bringing new stuff on my channel. I've noticed that my views have dropped off dramatically as well in recent times. Whereas one of my, I think the T9 got about 1,000 views. The Black 5 got over 1,000 views. I think my review of Lodestar has just struggled up over 100. We'll see how it goes. But I'm going to plough on regardless, because people who are sticking my channel tend to make some quite nice constructive comments about what I bought, and I'm not going to give up on the channel. I did get a bit disheartened when my views tailed off like this, but then I've not been buying so many locos, so I'm going to try and get my channel kick-started again for 2023, and I'll be bringing you new stuff. Now, what I want to do now is just wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, a very happy 2023. And for all of you who have been subscribed to my channel, thank you for subscribing, okay? And for those of you who have not subscribed, it don't cost you anything to do that, so subscribe. And I say wish you all a happy 2023. And thanks for all the people who have looked in and viewed and commented on my videos. And I appreciate you all, okay? And again, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I bid you farewell and bye-bye. Cheers.